Today, we're diving into a really massive shift happening in finance. It's this move that's turning bookkeepers from people who just do data entry into, well, system architects. We're going to explore how this whole idea of autonomous bookkeeping, especially when powered by tools like n8n, is completely changing the game.
This quote right here, it just hits home for anyone who's ever been buried under a mountain of invoices. That feeling, that desperate thought that there has to be a better way, that's the exact reason the revolution we're about to talk about is even happening.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the big shift in what a bookkeeper even does. Then we'll look at the engine that makes it all possible. We'll get into the cool stuff like how AI actually understands documents and sorts out messy data. And finally, we'll wrap up with what all this means for you and the future of finance jobs.
Okay, so let's get right into the foundational idea here. We're seeing a complete reimagining of the bookkeeper's job. It's moving way beyond just a clerical task and into something much, much more strategic.
Think about it this way. It's no longer about just being a historian, recording things that already happened. The new focus is all about proactively building and maintaining these really tough data pipelines that give you a real-time, totally clear picture of a company's financial health. So, at the very heart of this entire transformation is what we call a financial orchestration engine. You can basically picture it as the central nervous system for all the financial data flying around. And a perfect example of this in action is an automation platform like n8n. This right here is the core concept we're digging into. It's so important to think of a tool like n8n not as just another app, but as the essential middleware. It's that central nervous system that connects all your separate financial tools, your accounting software, your banks, everything, into one smart, cohesive system. This really shows you just how powerful n8n is as that central hub. It's not just about connecting QuickBooks and Stripe. The real magic is that it takes all the complex logic that used to live only inside an accountant's head and makes it visible, repeatable, and something you can scale up. So we have our orchestrator. Now, let's talk about its first big superpower. Making sense of that never-ending flood of documents, especially invoices, that just swamps every finance team out there. This shows a huge leap in technology. The old way, OCR, was super brittle. If a vendor changed the layout of their invoice even a little bit, the whole automation would just break. But today's Vision LLMs, they don't do more than just read text. They actually understand it. They know the difference between an invoice date and a due date, no matter the format, and they spit out clean, structured data every time. And this just shows you the insane scale and power of these new systems. This is from a real project, by the way. An n8n workflow chewed through over 30,000 different PDFs. We're talking scanned images, multi-page forms, the works, in just 2 weeks. And it got it right 94% of the time. Just incredible. And here it is, the bottom line. It can cost up to $15 to manually process a single invoice. But with automation, you can slash that cost down to just a few bucks. We're talking a potential cost savings of over 80%. That's a massive win that goes straight to profitability. Okay, so getting data off a document is one half of the puzzle. The other half, and honestly it's often the harder half, is matching that data across different systems. Trying to connect some vague line item on a bank statement to a very specific invoice in your accounting software. This is really where AI-powered reconciliation just shines. It's a process with a few layers. First, it pulls in and cleans up all the data. Then it does a super quick pass for the easy stuff, the exact matches. But for everything else, all that messy, ambiguous stuff, it unleashes AI to do what we call fuzzy matching. The real intelligence here is how the system figures out a confidence score for every possible match. It's weighing a bunch of factors at once. Is the amount an exact match, or at least really close? Are the dates within a few days of each other? And this is the coolest part. Does it understand that STRP payout and Stripe settlement are basically the same thing? And the result is, well, it's transformative. The huge majority of transactions, we're talking around 90%, get reconciled automatically. Another chunk gets a strong AI suggestion, leaving just this tiny little sliver, the real weird ones that actually need a human expert to look at. It completely flips the script from manual labor to expert review. Of course, with this much automation going on, you can't just set it and forget it. That's a recipe for disaster. Building systems that are truly resilient means you have to build in safety nets, clear rules, and most importantly, human oversight. And this is the key philosophy you have to adopt. The goal isn't to get rid of humans. It's to build a super reliable system that makes them more powerful, letting the machine handle the 97% of no-brainers and only flagging the really tough calls for human judgment. A really great way to do this is with something called an approval gate. It's basically a program checkpoint where the workflow just pauses. It bundles up all the context, the invoice, the score, what it wants to do into a little decision packet and pings an approver on Slack or Teams. They get everything they need to make a quick one-click decision, and the process keeps moving safely. Now, for things like compliance and audits, this part is absolutely non-negotiable. While n8 is the orchestrator doing all the work, it shouldn't be the final system of record. Every single automated decision, every approval, every piece of data has to be logged to a permanent, unchangeable database. That way, you have a perfect, searchable audit trail. So, we've seen all these pieces come together. The big question is, what does this actually mean for the future of the finance profession? What it all boils down to is that finance pros are evolving into a brand new role, the automation strategist, or the system architect. Your value isn't tied to how fast you can type anymore. It's about your ability to design, to govern, and to constantly make these sophisticated financial systems even better. So to wrap it all up, autonomous bookkeeping isn't about some single magic tool. It's about using an orchestration engine to tie your whole tech stack together. It's about using AI to intelligently understand your documents and data, and it's about building in strong human governance, all while recognizing that the role of a bookkeeper has fundamentally changed into that of a system architect. And that leaves us with one final, and I think really critical question. The whole point of all of this technology is to shift your finance team's focus away from the tedious, painful job of managing data and get them focused back on the strategic job of managing money. It's a question every single modern finance leader needs to be asking themselves.